Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. It's Allan Laboucan with the Rocks and Stocks News Show. Just to remind everybody, yesterday I did a big show, almost 2 hours, when I talked about my picks, my current picks in the different categories that they're in, from the major precious metal miners, the junior or the mid tiers, the juniors, the developers, and the explorers. And for some time now, I've been sort of planning to do a new series where I talk about just a few companies in each show and give you a little more idea of why I like the company. And it's also an exercise to show you how I do what I always recommend, which is for investors to do homework on their companies and understand the companies that they're investing in. And the fundamental reason for that is I believe that the best investors are those that are well informed on the industries and the companies that they invest in, and they make better investment decisions based on logic instead of emotions based on the daily fluctuations of a stock price. So today's show, I'm going to start off with Kirkland Lake Discoveries. As you can see in their corporate presentation, which is often where I start my research on a company, they talk about a district scale discovery potential. Now, a lot of companies use this term district scale. And as we move down the presentation, I'm going to show you why it's not just a catchphrase, and it's in fact an accurate depiction of what they're potentially looking for. All right, so there's their disclaimer. You can read over that at your own leisure. I have my issues with disclaimers. I think that it kind of insults our intelligence that we're supposed to do our homework and take everything with a grain of salt, but nonetheless, they're required to do that, so can't fight with it. All right, so they talk about the investment thesis, Kirkland Lake opportunity. They talk about this location. It's in the Kirkland Lake Gold Camp, which is one of the tier one mining jurisdictions in Ontario. 47 million ounces of gold have historically been produced there. And the project is located adjacent to Agnico Eagle's producing Macassa mine. Now, as everybody knows, Agnico Eagle is one of my top picks for major precious metals miners, has been since early 2024. They've done extremely well, and having projects near them is a good thing. Uh, they talk about the rocks. They're targeting high grade, intrusion related gold and polymetallic VMS systems hosted in the Black River Group. So basically, what they're talking about there, folks, is the various different styles of gold mineralization that they're looking for. Now, they mention two styles. One is intrusion related, and one is a polymetallic VMS system. These are different styles of mineralization. They talk about historical drilling at Winnie Lake, which is where they're drilling right now. Returned 2.6% copper, 2.8% zinc, 17 grams per ton of gold, and a gram of gold over 22.5 meters. So a very nice mix of copper, zinc, silver, and gold there. Scale, they talk about the scale. It's the largest consolidated land package in the camp's history, covering 40,000 hectares. This provides district scale potential along the entire 17-kilometer contact of the prospective Winnie intrusion, a feature never before drill tested with this geological model. Later, I'll go into a little more details. I've got some nice pictures in the presentation that helps you understand more about that. And then they highlight again 40,000 hectares. That's a big land position. and they're the ingredients for a major discovery. Now they show you, and this is a good map for general information. It talks about the Abitibi region, which is one of the world's largest gold-rich greenstone belts with over 300 million ounces of gold discovered to date. That makes it one of the most important gold districts in the world. And it covers part of Ontario and part of Quebec. The Kirkland Lake Discoveries is on the Ontario side of the Abitibi. Okay, and then here's a highlight of some of the great mines. Destor Porcupine Deformation Zone. So when you have these really old rocks that make up the Abitibi, the key parts of the Abitibi, you also need these crustal structures or deformation zones. And what that is it's like a big crack in the earth, folks. And this allows the metals bearing fluids to have a path of least resistance to make their way up closer to the surface. And there are two particular famous ones, the Destor Porcupine Deformation Zone and the Larder Lake or Cadillac Deformation Zone. So in the Timmins part, there's been 76 million ounces endowment. And now that's endowment. That includes mines and potential mines, if you will. Okay, Val-d'Or, 28.1 million, or sorry, I forgot to talk about Doyon. Basquet, 25 million ounces of gold. Harker Halloway, 4.5 million ounces. Timmins, 76. Val-d'Or, 28.1. Malartic, 26.6. I always get a smile on my face about Malartic because I started following the company that made that discovery when they were like a 50-cent stock. Osisco, they went on to great success. And I even remember along the way all the doubters of that project. First of all, well, is the grade going to make it? Then it was, well, is it going to be big enough? And then, well, are they going to be able to move the town that's right over top of the deposit? And so on and so. Then were they going to be able to get the funding and the permits? And they did all of that. And it's one of Canada's greatest gold mines. And I get a smile on my face because I recognized its potential very early in the success. Ryan Noranda, 19.5 million ounces. Larder Lake, 12.1 million ounces. Okay. So now we're starting to get into closer look at the Black River Group, and they say, is it Ontario's sleeping giant? Again, you've got the right rock packages here, and in blue is all of their ground. Okay. And there's Kirkland Lake, the city itself. So as you can see, it's in very close proximity. They talk about some of the great mines, Horn, Laurent, Upper Beaver, and they talk about their largest consolidated land package in the history of the camp, 40,000 hectares claim package in an established brownfields camp. It's got the potential for intrusive shear load gold and VMS signatures. In fact, they have all of these on their property. Property scale soil grid to vector exploration. So when you're looking for a deposit, you go in there and you do a bunch of surface sampling, and that surface sampling gives you indicators or pathfinders. You can think of it like following the crumbs towards what you're looking for. The loaf of bread, I guess, is the right analogy. And you can see there was past production nearby. Here's their claim blocks. As you can see, it's all in this gold colored area. And this is the newly acquired claims in 2025. All right. So exploring a district rich with mineralization. So again, now the claim blocks are in black, and you can see these colored discs here are where they've done surface sampling and found hits of gold in their sampling. This target here has me really intrigued, but that's not the topic of today. I see a lot of gold in the sampling there. Maybe I'll get into that a little bit later. Well, here I guess it's not going to be later. It's going to be right now. This is the KL West highlights, and they talk about look at all the high grade in drilling and in surface sampling. And a particular note in these orogenic gold systems, they have to have these. You'll see a bunch of black lines. It's a little difficult because they got labels of so much gold there, but those black lines are faulting or cracks in the earth, if you will, which are really important for the gold deposition. And that's what you can see is happening at this KL West. Mineralization prospectivity on KL West 2024 soil samples. So here you get a big geophysical or I mean geochemical anomaly. And in the center here is the massive granodiorite or to granite. All right, so geophysical anomalies. Now, this is really interesting to me. I had a mentor in geophysics who was at one time the world exploration manager for Anglo, one of the world's largest mining companies. And he always said to me, Alan, sometimes the magic works in reference to the geophysics, and sometimes it doesn't work. And what is the litmus test for whether it's working or not is the drill holes. When you get geophysics that backs up or when you get drill holes that back up the geophysics, that's when the geophysical magic is working. And this lighter colored area here represents the Winnie Lake Pluton. Um, and then right beside it is all lit up with geophysics at the contact between the Pluton and the country rocks beside it. So this is really important. And then you start looking at some of the drill holes. So the Winnie Lake showing was explored as a VMS. So they thought that it was a volcanogenic massive sulfide deposits that were in these geophysical anomalies. And now their model is somewhat changing, and they think that this Pluton is the important intrusive, or at least the contact. Now, there's a possibility that there could be mineralization in the intrusive as well. We don't know that yet, but we do know that at the outside of it, where it's at contact with the country rock, you get these geophysical anomalies and you get grades from 1989 drilling encountered grades of 2.6% copper, 2.8% zinc, 17 grams of silver, and a gram of gold over 22.5 meters. And you can see that sitting right on a geophysical anomaly. So soil sampling from 2024 indicates significant mineralization at the contact zone of the granite intrusion. So here you've got the granite intrusion in the light colors, and then wrapping around it is where you get the big geophysical anomaly right at the contact of two important sets of rocks. The magnetic highs around the granite intrusion indicate possible mineralization similar to Winnie, making these zones high priority exploration and drill targets. Magnetic highs correlate with mineralization trends from the 2024 geochemical survey. So not only are they seeing that they have a huge geophysical anomaly, here's the scale. Just this one alone is 2 kilometers. You got another you see a bunch of 2 kilometers all the wrapping all the way around it. Very exciting stuff. So 2025 field update number one. So the highlights of that was high grade polymetallic. 2025 grab samples confirm high grade copper zinc with gold and silver. Channel sampling. So this is where you kind of take like a saw and you saw a channel right into the rocks and you take that out of there. Sometimes grab samples can be a little I don't want to say misleading but more like misguided because if you've got glaciation in the area, they could have been what they're sampling in those grabs could be moved from a distance away. But when you're cutting into actual bedrock, that's a whole different story. And they collected 75 of those, including an altered intrusive with extensive parallel quartz veining. So these quartz veins are important as well. Uh, and so this is the elevated indicate a fertile magmatic, so a magma, big amount of magma, hydrothermal system, characteristic of an intrusion-related gold system with bulk tonnage potential. Like to see all of that. Here you see some of the pathfinder minerals that they found around it in the sampling. And there you go. So then they did a 2025 field update number two. Number one highlight is polymetallic semi-massive to massive sulfides at surface associated with massive magnetite, providing a strong magnetic signal to vector towards additional mineralization. Now, why this is important, folks, is magnetite is very magnetic, okay? And so it may not host the gold, but if the gold is in close proximity to the magnetite, then when you see a magnetic anomaly, that can help you look for where you want to find the gold. Okay, they talk also about elevated bismuth in intrusive related systems, signals a pervasive, continuous mineralizing event in Abitibi style intrusive related systems. Elevated indicator minerals is widely documented as an effective pathfinder toward higher grade gold. Okay, so here was the Winnie shaft, gives you an idea of the copper mineralization in it. And here is a zoomed in, and you can see that why and they drilled way over here. So they're not like twinning right beside where they know there's mineralization. They believe that there's mineralization further away from that, and they're not messing around, they're going after it. So here is the district scale potential. Again, here is the Winnie Lake Pluton, that is the light colors, and it's bordered with white hatched lines. And then you've got wrapping around it geophysical anomalies all around it. The first is the first drill hole is the first company to drill test the Winnie intrusion with an intrusion related mineralization model. Originally, as I said earlier, this was thought of as a VMS type area. And they are now, who knows, maybe there is VMS deposits still. We don't know. More work is doing. That's how exploration evolves. But now they've got a new model that they're working on, and they think that is unlocking district potential. The contact of the Winnie intrusion spans 17 kilometers, so that's huge, folks, and all bordering around that. Remember, I said the 2 kilometer, 2 kilometers, a whole bunch of 2 kilometers. This one's 4 kilometers, so you can get a lot of 4 kilometers around there. 2025 drilling update. Okay, now here's where it gets really exciting. The white dot is the collar for the drilling, and then the trace is the direction that the drill hole went in. The longer the trace is an indication of the angle of the hole as well as the length of the hole. Now, this is a more steeply dipping hole, so it doesn't look as long, but and I don't know the actual length of each of those holes, but I have a feeling that they're not much different. KLD 25-31, that's the setup. And here they're going through there's they're collaring at a geophysical anomaly and going through a mag low. Now, sometimes the mag lows can be just as important as the mag highs, and they wanted to test that. Plus, they have another two drill hole collars and one, two, three, four, five holes going off of those two drill hole, or yes, two drill hole collars. So that's one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 8 holes that are pending. And they've seen semi-massive to massive sulfides, exactly what you want to see in this style of a system. Intercepted multiple zones of semi-massive to massive sulfides. And the evolution of their model is that it's an intrusion-related system. Massive sulfides were associated with wide halos of intense silicification and disseminated sulfides. These are what you're looking for. Deep system, KLD 2537, that's this one. Now look, the drill hole trace only has a little distance, but that's because it's a steeply angled hole. Intersected pyrite and chalcopyrite mineralization starting at 97.5 meters downhole, and all the assays are pending. All right, so here we get into the juicy stuff that I love looking at. Drilling visuals, assays pending. I like that they put assays pending because I love that companies want to show their drill core. Now, some of the old timers don't like it because they say, well, you could be misleading people. You might be making promises you can't keep, that kind of stuff. But I think that that's misguided old school way of thinking. There's no guarantee what's in that core, but showing the shareholders what you're finding is important, I think. And here you can see these brassy colored things. That's your sulfides. And here's a nice run of sulfides. Another nice run of sulfides. More over in all of these holes. And so they're seeing in the drill hole exactly what you want to see for this kind of a system. That's basically what you're seeing here, folks. I don't know if it comes up very closely on this recording, but if you go to their website, you'll see it. You can clearly see the sulfides, and that's what you want to be looking for, folks, in these kind of a systems. Also, these quartz are important as well. Here are these little stringers of quartz in it. So these are things that you want to see in this kind of a project. Anomaly detection using AI and human experts. I believe that AI can be very helpful, but there are some people that have exceptionally good eyes, and those are your human experts, and putting them together is a really good thing. And what that means is an analysis of the existing geophysical data, which shows a correlation of chargeability highs with elevated VMS prospectivity from soil analysis. So they went in there and they sampled the soil and they got these pathfinders that you're looking for in a VMS or a volcanogenic massive sulfide. They're using ALS gold spot conducted anomaly pattern detection and matching from known mineralization on over 7,000 line kilometers of EM data. That's electromagnetic data. Combined with further analysis of geochemical data, magnetics, bedrock mapping, provided with prospective targets for ongoing exploration and drilling. And here is one of those AI, artificial intelligence hotspots for prospectivity. So they're using these various different filters, geological filters, to then focus in on key spots or hotspots, as they call it. Exploration summary and outlook. So completed work in 2025. They've completed 1,700 meters of drilling at KL West, the acquisition of the Winnie Lake property, exploration and drilling summer 2025. They've done mapping, sampling, channeling, and prospecting. So the catalysts for 2025 and 2026 are mapping, sampling, and prospecting around the Winnie Pluton at KL West, which is ongoing. 1,000 plus assays from KLD 25-28 to KLD 25-37 are pending. This is a good indicator in itself, folks. If you only have a little bit of samples to send in, you usually don't have a lot of smoke in the holes, as we say. And when you got 1,000, there's a good chance that smoke there's fire associated with that. Follow-up drilling at KL West and regional drilling around the Winnie intrusion. So all around it, it's wide open for drilling. Helicopter MT survey to define intrusive contact at depth for targeted drilling. Now I'm going to go back to the geophysics here quickly, folks, because sometimes when you do geophysics, there's certain surveys that you can do. Line spacing is important. The distance of the sample or the survey the device and the ground. And then there's once you light up like it does here, then you can do more deeper penetrating geophysical surveys that give you higher resolution at depth. And this helps you vector into where you want to be drilling. And so that's an important catalyst that they talk about. Uh, that heli survey will give them better resolution at depth and better depth penetration at depth. Sometimes surveys can be limited. They maybe have 200 meters of penetration. So after that, it can still give you an anomaly, but it may not be as precise. And by doing these more sophisticated, if you will, surveys, you can get better depth penetration and more resolution, which is exactly what you want to see. KLDC, Treasure Hunt and Journey to Discovery. I love what this company's doing because I've been harping on companies for a long time to more effectively do their digital marketing. And what they do is they do a whole bunch of videos that show you what they're doing. They talk about the rocks in there. They talk about what they're finding, all this. And here are some of the highlights of it behind the scenes access. Follow our journey as we unearth hidden potential, capturing every step from field work to drilling through dynamic updates. Join the hunt. Weekly or bi-weekly videos will immerse you in the treasure hunt, revealing the highs, the lows, and key decisions behind our discoveries. Omniscient storytelling. Each update offers a complete narrative, breaking down why and how we make critical decisions along the way. Engaging and transparent, bite-sized content designed to inform, disclose, and entertain. Experience the thrill of the hunt with KLDC as we chase our big discovery. This in a nutshell is what I love to see. I would love to see more companies doing to really bring their shareholders into the treasure hunting process. A lot of times I see companies, they'll say, okay, we're drilling, we finished drilling, here's the assays. And that can take 3, 4 months. And that doesn't really bring the shareholders into the excitement of the treasure hunting business. That's the business we're in, folks. Either hunting for treasures or mining treasures. And I love that this company does a lot of that. They talk about their experienced board, Denny Laviolette, very talented guy. I did an interview with him a few months ago. We had a great talk about rocks and his experiences. Denny is a very talented geologist and he's the non-executive chairman. Christina McCarthy, some of you may remember Christina because her company Paycor was a company that I picked early in their success and they ultimately got bought out. Christina worked for Rob McEwen at McEwen Mining, which is now called McEwen Inc. And she's a very talented geologist. And I love doing all the interviews I used to do with her when Paycor was having their great success. Uh, and here's their discovery team, technical team. So they've got a great group of people involved with the company. And yeah, there's some beautiful looking core. Always like to see what's coming out of the truth machine, folks, especially when it's loaded up with sulfides. Loaded up with sulfides in a huge target with a lot of great geophysical anomalies that are being proven up with the truth machine. Love to see that, folks. And okay, so I'm going to zoom up to the top of the company. And so there you go. That's how I go about doing my homework on a company. Then I follow all their news releases and like, let's go to some of their news releases. So here you can go. And here's the news section. Oh, went to the wrong section. News. So you can see they talk about the headlines can tell you a lot. Kirkland Lake Discoveries expands mineralized system with semi-massive to massive sulfide intersections and three additional holes at KL West property. That was on August the 26th. On August the 12th, Kirkland Lake Discoveries intersects intrusion-related polymetallic system at KL West property. August 6th, Kirkland Lake Discoveries initiates inaugural drill program to test intrusive polymetallic mineralization around the Winnie intrusion. Then you click on the news release and you see more details and read those details, folks. You don't have to be a geologist. There is often little nuggets of wisdom in there that you can pick up. And a company that does a really good job of writing their news releases speaks both to the technical geological audience as well as their investing audience. And that's the litmus test that I always look for when I see companies write news releases. And had the pleasure of writing probably over 1,000 news releases in my career. And so that's what I try to do when I do a news release. And oftentimes the CEO's statement will give you more of the detail and break it down for non-geologists. But yeah, read through the entire news release, not just the headlines and the highlights and the quote. There's a lot of good information, and you don't need to be a geologist. And for anybody that's in my audience, if you have a problem understanding anything, just send me a question. And if I can't answer it, I'll find you somebody that will. Okay, so here's the stock chart. And now you can go and you can take those news releases I was talking about and you can sort of plot them on the stock chart. And you'll notice that as they started drilling, as they got closer to drilling, the stock started firming up. When they started doing drilling and talking about what they're finding in the drill holes, the stock moved up dramatically. It went through a golden cross here, which I find very bullish. That's one of my bullish indicators that I look for in a chart. When the 50-day moving average crosses over the 200-day moving average. So basically what that is, folks, is you got a longer term trend line and you got a shorter term trend line. So when the short term trend line goes through the longer term trend line, that's called a golden cross. Another thing that I look for is the trajectory of the 50-day moving average. As you can see, it's going up on a very steep angle. This is a very bullish indicator, and I think it portends very good performance going forward. Sometimes the trend line can be more shallow, and yes, they can break out and go much higher off of those. But when they break out like this and go through a golden cross and the 50-day moving average has such a steep angle, I love seeing that. That's one of my favorite things to look for. Okay, so that's the Kirkland Lake story. Now let's go into Golden Cross. These first two companies are companies that I think are going to make important discoveries. Okay, we need to know the assay results to see how important those are, but I'm giving you a window into how I look at a project to try to identify ones that can make an important discovery. And then the third company I'm going to talk about today has already made a discovery and they're advancing that discovery. So Golden Cross is an explorer that has a high-grade gold exploration in Victoria, Australia. Now, why this is so important is that one of the greatest high-grade gold mines in the world is called Fosterville, which is about 30 kilometers away from Golden Cross's discovery. And another pick of mine, which is called Southern Cross, I kind of am calling it the Fosterville 2.0 story of mine. But I think Golden Cross could be a Fosterville 2.0 discovery story as well. In this case, we're looking at it before they have assay results out. So why am I looking at it before they have assay results out? Here is the Golden Cross ground in gray, and then in this light yellow color is where my other pick, Southern Cross, has made their discovery just a matter of about 1,500 meters from where Golden Cross is drilling. And as you can see over here is the tremendous Fosterville discovery. That's one of the highest grade gold discoveries and mines in the world. So obviously that's why they call it a prime location. They've got 100% owned 45 square kilometers. Now I have to check if this is updated because they just got a whole bunch more ground. So I'm not sure if that's the new number, but even before, or if it is included, that's a huge land package. Near-term catalyst, 6,000-meter drill program commenced in June of 2025. They haven't released any assay results from that, but I think that they're going to make some great discoveries. High-grade gold intercepts, high-grade historical drilled between 2021 and 2024. Intercepts including 11 meters at 31 grams per ton of gold and 2 meters at 174.42 grams per ton of gold. So why did the company give that up? Well, the reason the company that had this project that drilled it in 2021 and 2024 also has projects in Papua New Guinea. And they got a management team there that was responsible for founding the company that made KTN is their symbol. K92, I think is their name. Had huge success. And so that same team also has a big land package over there, and they're getting a lot more interest in their company because of that, rightfully so, because of the success that the team had with K92. And so this project was available. Now they have some relationships there with the management team of Golden Cross, and they were able to do a deal that made sense for Golden Cross and the company they optioned it from. So epizonal gold potential, these are your orogenic gold systems like at Fosterville. Exploration to date has identified potential for epizonal gold mineralization akin to the Fosterville and Costerfield operating mines to the west and north, and Southern Cross, which is immediately to the south. They got a great share structure, only 60 million shares outstanding, with approximately 33% owned by management and insiders. So they're aligned with the shareholders. Leadership team, Matt Roma. I recently did an interview with him and we talked about the company. Please have a look at that interview because it has been very well received. And we dealt with a lot of the stuff in the what makes their company so exciting. Here's some highlights about the area operating mines in Victoria: 3.2 million ounces, 2,333 tons, around 200 billion of gold is still underground in Victoria. It's also got antimony potential. Antimony is becoming very important. We're hearing a lot more about antimony these days, and sometimes it can make a gold discovery help out the situation. Victoria is open for business. I quote the Premier Jacinta Allan, cool last name, and she stated, and I quote, Victoria is open for business. That's why we're unlocking industrial land, streamlining investment pathways, slashing red tape, and backing new and existing industries, end quote. And another great thing about Victoria is you can pretty much drill there year round. All right, so let's get into the exploration history. You'll see a lot, all these red dots here. These are historical gold workings, so either little pits. There was production over 100 years ago, and you can see all of these locations where the small scale miners were mining. And you'll see something called the Ready Creek anticline goes through here. So this is a key geological feature. And notice how all the gold mining, historical gold mining, was all done around one of those anticlines. And actually, I don't think this includes, I think they grabbed all this ground over here. We'll go to a news release after this and we'll I think there's an update to this map. So you can see just vast areas of historical mining. Now, Southern Cross, who's another pick of mine, um, has made a fantastic discovery. So how did they make that fantastic discovery, you ask? Well, you can't see it, but behind this indication of historical mining are the little red dots. I think there's about 8 or 10 of them in around, and again on one of these. Well, this in this case is the syncline, so anticline, syncline, or syncline, anticline. I always get those mixed up due to my dyslexic moments. But so you've got an important geological feature and a bunch of historical mining. Oh, well, let's look over about 5 kilometers away. What do we have here? Vastly more historical mining on a key geological feature. Important stuff. Same things happening over here, or happening here, here, up here. So great land package, bottom line. Sunday Creek exploration model. So they're testing the ladder. So think you can think about rungs in a ladder. The ladder's sitting sideways, and each rung is a potential vein, if you will. And here you can see where they hit in their shallow drilling 11.9 meters of 5.3 grams per ton of gold. Then they caught more gold deeper with this angled hole that cut across three of these rungs of the ladder, if you will. The shallower drilling had 12.6 meters of 8 grams of gold equivalent. This shallow hole had 8.7 meters of 4.6 grams per ton of gold equivalent. Nice juicy numbers there, folks. Now we're starting to see that they're tying these vertical bodies or vertical veins together with a angled hole that cuts across all of them. So really exciting stuff. And here again, here's the ladder, and here's the rungs of the ladder. And this comes from Southern Cross, who's right here. And they found a whole bunch of these veins like rungs in a ladder. And the theory is that there's more ladders up on Golden Cross's ground. Exploration work to date. So they give you showings of the past drilling and how they're focusing. They've done a whole bunch of more work like LiDAR surveys. This is a survey that enables you to sort of get away all the vegetation and just see the bedrock below that vegetation. And so this can show you where there is historical mines that maybe it got overgrown and you can't see it even walking right over top of it. But if you do the LiDAR survey, you can. They also did detailed structural mapping where previous drilling intersected high-grade gold mineralization. An early resampling program undertaken by Golden Cross successfully defined arsenic as a crucial geochemical pathfinder to gold mineralization. So, pathfinders are what you use to lead you to the gold, folks. The investigation also highlighted the nature of the low grade anomalous gold surrounding the high grade gold bearing quartz veins. This work has enabled the team to further refine the current drill program and is aiding the evaluation of future drill targets. So, if you've got like a vein and beside it you've got disseminated gold, that maybe it's lower grade, but if you open pit mine that, you get it all. Very exciting stuff. Drill pad, diamond drilling program commenced in June of 2025. Here they show you some of those the past drilling. 4 meters at 10.87 grams, a meter of 5.83 grams, 10 meters at 2.08, 6 meters at 2 grams, 1 meter at 19.5 grams, 29 meters at 21.8 grams per ton of gold. Okay, so here's an important thing, folks. You notice how at some points there's 4 meters, a meter, a half a meter, 10 meters, a meter, 6 meters, 29 meters, 7 meters at 48 grams. So what that tells you is that these veins, they can pinch and swell. So they pinch, they maybe a meter, and then they expand. These expanded areas are called dilation zones. This is where the rocks are opening up so the fluids can fill in. But that's the nature of these orogenic gold systems. They pinch and swell along strike. So here we're looking at along strike. So here you've got the veins along strike, but they can also do the pinching and the swelling at depth. So you got to do drilling to figure all this out. And that's what this company is really rolling up the sleeves to understand the depth and the potential along strike. Okay. They're partnered up with Verify, which is an AI-assisted mineral discovery platform. AI modeling trained to discover specific mineral systems. For example, epithermal gold or orogenic gold. All right. Utilizes advanced algorithms to identify complex correlations across vast data sets. So, what they mean by that is they pump into the AI data set geophysics, geochemistry, drill hole data, geological interpretation, and the algorithm then uses all of that to help vector into where you want to drill and quickly formulates insights that can lead to discovery while reducing bias and human error. Well, I mean, bias and human error, well, sometimes that bias is dead on accurate. So you don't want to exclude that. But it maximizes the value of the existing data and new data from the 2025 exploration. So they can keep pumping in data as they go along. And as anyone knows, in artificial intelligence, the more data you have, the better the outcome can be at the other end. Good data in, good data out kind of situation. Golden Cross has engaged Verify for a 12-month contract and will be managed by the same Verify technical team as the Sunday Creek project. All righty. So here you go, and here's what it looks like when you light up the gold in these systems. And this is what they look like at depth. Cool stuff. And here's what it looks like when you're looking down at it. Here is the cap structure, 60 million common shares, 600,000 options, 4.9 million warrants, 1.2 million RSUs. So the total fully diluted is 67 million shares. Very tight. 33% of that is owned by the insiders. 7% of that is owned by GPAC, which is the company that optioned the property to them. So they maintained a substantial shareholding. And then institutional investors own about 10%. And that's their presentation. So there you go, folks. That's why I get so excited about Golden Cross Resources. I've heard other analysts call this a drill punt. And I think that that really devalues the quality of this project. This is a huge land package. It's right very close in geological terms, right next door to one of the greatest high-grade gold mines in the world at Fosterville. Right beside them to the immediate south, it looks like Fosterville 2.0 is my Southern Cross pick. And now they're drilling, and a whole bunch of assays are pending. Can't wait to start seeing those. And because they can drill year round, I think we're going to be seeing, once they start coming in, I think they'll have a lot to talk about. All right, Golden Cross. Now, Golden Cross has only been trading for a few months, and right out of the box, they've been trading aggressively. And again, folks, this doesn't happen by accident. This happens because of everything I just talked about in their corporate presentation and highlighted as important stuff. And as you can see, the 50-day moving average is moving up nicely. It only had a brief period. I think right about here was when I first picked them. Right about here is when I interviewed their CEO. Good volume of trading activity for a brand new company, and a good trajectory on the 50-day moving average, and the now it's not got a lot of clarity into that 200-day moving average, but nonetheless, it does give you a good trajectory to that as well. And with all the assays pending and all the drilling that they're doing, and they're loaded up with cash to do that drilling and keep drilling well into 2026. So you can expect a lot of news flow out of this company. All right. That is the Golden Cross story. Now, the final company I'm going to talk about today is Blackrock Silver Corp. The first two companies were uh, um, what I think are important discoveries in the making. BlackRock has an important discovery, and it's a development company that's moving that project forward. So BlackRock Silver Corp driving the Queen of the Silver camps towards production. So this is the town of Tonopah, which was built around the great mines of the area that were being mined before, let's say, the Great Depression of 2029, or sorry, 1929. Got to get my millennia correct. But so there was historical production, and then it basically went on the back burner for like 80, 90 years. BlackRock acquired, okay, here's their forward-looking statements. Stock info. 37% is owned by institutions. Management directors own 4%. 59% is owned by institutions, which include Eric Sprott, Global X Silver Miners, that's an index. Sprott Asset Management, a fund. US Global, a fund. Gold 2000, not sure what Gold 2000 and IXIOSAM is. I'm sure management will laugh at me for not knowing that. I probably should, but I don't. Got to keep it real with you here, folks. 384 million shares out, $258 million market cap, 10 million in the treasury, 52-week high low, 24 cents on the low, and 80 cents on the high. They got good analyst coverage, Research Capital, Stuart McDougall, Red Cloud, Ventum, Raymond James. Okay, now let's get into the story a little bit more. So Tonopah West. Tonopah East was where all the historical mining was. And then BlackRock acquired the Tonopah East. Sorry, East was where the mining was. West was where they acquired the property. They did an updated Tonopah. Here's some of the highlights. Updated 2025 mineral resource estimate outlines, they give you the data. It works out to 86.8 million ounces silver equivalent in the inferred category, 5.14 million tons at a block diluted grade of 523 grams per ton gold equivalent. For a silver development project, this is the highest grade silver development project in the business. And they've reached that milestone. One of the milestones you want to look for in a silver company is when they get to 100 million ounces of silver. The basis for that rule of thumb is that would then give you 10 years of 10 million ounces of production. And now I want to look at this low all-in sustaining cost. $12 per ounce of silver. Silver's nearly $40 an ounce, folks. That's a huge margin. So if you're making, let's say, what is that, 25 bucks per ounce of profit off of that, and you mine 10, that's $250 million of free cash flow, folks. The company currently has a valuation of that. That's 1 year. All right. And that is using $1,900 an ounce gold and $23 an ounce silver, which gives a payback of only 2.3 years. So if you start plugging in current prices of gold and silver, this payback period drops dramatically. I'm ballparking it, but you could be looking at less than a year. Oh, well, here they did the math for me. At 2280 gold and 2760 silver, so still significantly below where it's currently at, you got a 54% after tax internal rate of return. So you go from 39.2% to 54, and you're still well below the current price of gold and silver. Expansion drilling has traced high-grade mineralization 500 meters from the DPB towards the NW Northwest Step-Out deposit. So DPB is three separate veins that collectively they call DPB. And then they've got the Northwest Step-Out deposits. Scout drilling uncovered new 1.2 kilometer structural zone running east from DPB resource area. You're going to see what that means later in a picture. 7,000 meter resource expansion program underway, targeting 1.2 kilometers of eastern strike potential in 22 drill holes. Very straightforward metallurgy. averages 96.1% gold recovery and 88.9% silver recovery. So really easy mining, very straightforward. All precious metals, no base metals. Standard milling, and they create doré. No concentrates or smelters required. So they can produce doré right on the property. Private lands in Nevada. This is important for permitting. Project comprised of patented mining claims owned by the company directly off a highway adjacent to the town of Tonopah. Literally adjacent. You can buy coffee at a coffee shop and it's still piping hot by the time you get to the property. Mineral resource update planned for Q1 2026, incorporating results from the Northwest and East expansion drill programs and updated PEA to follow in the first half of 2026. So this data that I'm talking about earlier, folks, it comes from the 2024 preliminary economic assessment. So since then, they've done a lot of drilling to not only increase the confidence level in the known resource, but expand on that. And that's what's going to go into their resource estimate that they expect to have out in the first quarter of 2026. So a few months from now. Environmental studies and data collection underway to de-risk an advanced project towards permitting of an exploration decline and bulk sampling program. So by doing that, they start getting the underground decline, which would be also used in a mining scenario. And what they want to do is they want to bulk sample with that the start of the underground, if you will. Tonopah Silver District, so it talks about the historical nature. I love this picture here because what this is an epithermal vein, and it's a beautiful specimen of an epithermal vein. You notice how it looks like there's a whole bunch of waves in the epithermal vein? And this is exactly what you want. This is called banded textures. And what that indicates to you is that think of a boiling pot of water, if you will. You turn it on, one event comes in. You turn it off, you turn it back on a million years later, another one. You keep doing that over and over. And that's what this tells you has happened here. That's exactly what you want to look for in an epithermal vein. So when you're looking at drill core from epithermal exploration projects, this is what you're looking for, folks. All righty. So again, PE based on September 2024 mineral resource estimate. This is now will be outdated and they're doing a new one that will come out in only a few months from now. But even looking at it using the much lower prices of gold and silver, you've still got a very attractive project. All-in sustaining cost at $12 per ounce of silver produced. You're selling it today for $37 an ounce, folks. They're talking about in this PEA, they talked about 8.6 million ounces of annual silver equivalent production, 7.8 year mine life. Now that can be affected by all the drilling that they've done since here. Highest average head grade of 570 grams per ton of silver equivalent among developers by it's a leader amongst developers by a wide margin. It's a very high grade system. And again, that's because of this, folks. A long-lived, multi-phased epithermal vein system. And they come in clusters, these veins, by the way, folks. 2025 mineral resource estimate. So now what they did in this one is that they were moving from just inferred resource estimate and they increased the amount in the indicated, okay? But that was a resource estimate that they just released. Now they're going, that was just to sort of add confidence to the resource. Now what they want to do, now what they're doing is they're using all of their expansion drilling to create a new mineral resource estimate and then do a preliminary economic assessment on it. All that's to come out in 2026. So here they give you timelines of all the various different catalysts that they're moving forward on. You can read that by going to their website. And so over here was where all the historical mining was done, and a little bit on the west side. But then the price of silver dropped because of the Great Depression. Mining stopped. Even Howard Hughes was in here mining way back in the day. Actually, it says right here, explored by Howard Hughes. West End Mining Company explored by Howard Hughes, Houston Oil and Minerals, Eastfields. Discovery of the Three Hills deposit in 1996. So they give you some of the history. It's really great stuff. And here is the deposit, folks, and here's the town of Tonopah. You can literally buy a coffee here. I think they said there's a Burger King somewhere around here. You could go get Burger King for lunch and come right back to the property probably in 20 minutes. That's very well located. So here they talk about all of the resources in the red, okay? And the pink is where they're expanding with drilling, the expansion drilling. So they think they've got the eastern extension, the northwest step out, which would tie together this northwest step out resource and the DPB North resource. So this is really, well, it's all really important when you're trying to increase the size of the resource. But that's what that shows you there in pictorial format. Here is all the drilling that they've done. Here's a cross section. So you can think of this like cutting a cake in half, and now you're looking into the side of the cake, and you can see where the various different veins are. And all of these are high grade veins, folks, and they're still open. You could fit more veins in some of these areas that have no drilling. And that's important. So, very interesting cross section there. Here's a tighter, zoomed in version of the cross section. So you can start to see how the veins. Earlier, I talked about how veins can pinch and swell. So here you see some pinching, and then boom, it swells out to 7.62 meters. Like in Mexico, where a lot of these epithermal veins are mined, I think 25% of the silver ever produced in the history of mankind has come from mining silver in Mexico from epithermal veins, and they generally range from 1 to 4, 5 meters kind of thing. That's exactly what you're looking at here, folks. Nice chunky vein here. Uh, Here is, you can see their land package in blue and all the locations of drill hole collars. So they've been drilling this up like a storm, folks. Here's a conceptual model from the PE report, how they come in there with underground declines and then do underground mining of these various different zones. I'm kind of partial to this Victor because it's got a lot of high grade gold in it. Here you can see more the site layout. Here's your tailings dam. Here's your waste dump. The You're looking down at the underground working network here, folks. Here, I think up there. Uh, as they do more drilling and more economic studies, they'll do more of that, those kind of evaluations. Here's the PEA. Now, again, folks, these PEA was from 2024. Price of gold has gone up and silver have gone up a lot since then. They've even got lithium potential up in here. Here's some of the important trends. Here's the North Nevada Rift. Here's their Silver Cloud project. I'm excited about this project as well. It's kind of a sleeper. And I think it could be, but right now they're really focusing on the Tonopah West as they should. Uh, this gives you more information about Silver Cloud. So there you go. That's the Blackrock story. Stay tuned for more drilling results, an updated mineral resource estimate using more current prices of silver and gold, and a preliminary economic assessment that assesses the economics of the project using closer to more current prices of gold than the ones that were used for the 2024 study. All right, let's have a look at their stock chart. BlackRock. There you go. So as they've been doing this drilling and they've been coming out with a lot of good results, look at the Golden Cross here, folks. This is all related to the drilling that they're currently doing. And it's had a fantastic breakout. Golden Cross not long after the breakout. Very bullish trajectory of the 50-day moving average. A lot of good things to say about this stock chart as well as the project. And that's the way things are. That's why I call my reports rocks and stocks. Without the rocks, you don't have the stocks. Without the, so you need the rocks and the stocks and that's what I try to do my homework on. And I see a lot of reasons to be bullish about the price of BlackRock. They're up 3.53% today, or 88 cents a share on a day when silver and gold were down. So that's showing some good relative strength. And yeah, that's the BlackRock story. As always, folks, do your homework, speak with your financial advisors. Remember that I'm only an idea generator. I try to use my 32 years of experience in as an explorer to help you understand and filter and companies that pass my litmus test. And but I'm only an idea generator. You got to do your homework. You got to speak with your financial advisors. Why I stress that homework so much, folks, is I firmly believe that in my career, the investors that did the best were those that were the most well informed. Be an informed investor. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.